What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. We just had the Holy Paladin tree finally released. Yesterday was reset day. For those of you guys, Tuesday's reset day in the West here. In North America, I guess. And we had the Paladin Holy Tree release. Now, I'm not going to lie. It's really bad. It's pretty criminal. So we're going to have to take a look at it and see why there's so many problems. I'm going to try and point them out and be very specific about my feedback here, because I don't want to just say, you know, it's bad and then that's good enough, because there are some good things in the tree, but huge parts of it are really bad. So I also have an alternative tree that I have made, and I've actually made it in a program here where you can make trees. So we'll get to that in a minute, because I really like the tree that I've kind of worked on here, and I think it fixes some of the problems that exist for this holy tree right now. So what are the big, like, overarching problems? Why am I sort of dooming on this a little bit? First of all, the structure of the tree is completely awful. It's really, really awful. You've got things like Holy Light being up here, and then all the way down here you've got like Divine Toll, which is like a Holy Shock thing. Has nothing to do with Holy Light. You also have Glimmer of Light here, which works with Holy Shock, and then Barrier of Faith, which is a new idea, and it accumulates 20% of the effective healing from your Flash of Light or Holy Light spells, but it's behind Glimmer, which is focused on Holy Shock. It's focused on you pressing Crusader Strike and Holy Shock so that you can get more Holy Shocks out. And Divine Toll, like, that's what Glimmer's all about. You don't ever press Holy Light with the Glimmer build. You just don't. They're two, like, diametrically opposed ideas. One is like a ranged, you know, Holy Light, big bomb of a heal. The other one is like fast-paced, more GCD usage on Holy Shock, leaving lots of glimmers on people and getting healing that way. So that's like really strange. Blessing of Summer is just here for some strange reason. I'll talk about that later. Empyreal Ward is here, which is very kind of weird. Like, it's a cool idea to a degree, but it's literally like just random. Like, there's nothing else that has to do with lay on hands. It's just here. Like, it's just here for some reason. Echoing Blessings is over here, which is a really cool idea. Once again, this is a conduit that we have right now. Blessing of Freedom increases target's movement speed. Blessing of Protection and Sacrifice reduce their damage taken. Very cool. But that's locking you out of Beacon of Faith and Beacon of Virtue. Like, why is they're not related at all? Why do I have to take Echoing Blessings to get my beacons buffed? Literally doesn't make any sense at all. Beacon needs to be in the middle. I'll show you that on my tree later. Rule of Law is like smack dab in the middle of this tree. And like, I don't want to take Rule of Law necessarily. If I'm doing Mythic Plus content, I'm never taking Rule of Law. I'm just not. I mean, even now, there are legendaries in Shadowlands that help you solve the range problem, because if you don't know, obviously, Holy Paladin's Mastery says that you heal people for more the closer they are to you, okay? So, like, that is great, and it introduces, like, an interesting gameplay loop for Paladin where you want to kind of be close to the people that you're healing. Rule of Law helps you to solve that in, like, a raid scenario. But there are legendaries right now, like Dawnbreaker, that increases the range of Light of Dawn to 40 yards, and also makes people benefit from your mastery as if they were within 10 yards of you. So Rule of Law is just really weird that it's placed in the middle of the tree here. It's not that important of a spell in like Mythic Plus in particular, which is a large portion of what you're going to be doing. So it needs to be moved. Light of the Martyr is here. And it's followed by Untempered Dedication, which is the conduit, I believe, right? Light of the Martyr's damage and healing goes up by 8%. And then Maraud's, which is the legendary. This is good, actually. This is actually quite good. It's not something I used a lot right now. And I do want to actually experiment with it a little bit more, because I think it's very cool. But this is a great little combo. This is one of the highlights of the tree that's very good. The bottom of the tree is also actually not terrible. Divine Toll is like fine that it's here. This choice note is really bad, though. Let me move my camera a little bit. This choice note's pretty bad, right? Because the Avenging Wrath stuff is just bad. So, like, if they end up changing the Avenging Wrath stuff on the class side, then maybe this gets better. But Avenging Crusader is here. AC is here, and it's actually very good, although it still costs 50% of your frigging mana, so they need to change that. Liadrin's is here, giving you holy power every 4 seconds. I think it's 2 holy power every 4 seconds if you put 2 points into it. That is quite strong, actually. And then Awakening is here, which is really good. Awakening plus Divine Purpose. Those two play really, really well together, right? So, finally, we have Tyr's Deliverance over here, which is the Legion artifact ability. It was also very, very strong. I actually like this a lot. Works very, very well with your beacons, particularly Beacon of Virtue. So the tree, like, has some things that are okay, but it has some stuff that's just really, really bad. Summer doesn't make sense at all. Holy Prism is back, which nobody wanted. Nobody wants Holy Prism back. I mean, they just don't. I'm going to change that in my thing. Rule of Law is smack dab in the middle. This is like the worst talent that's ever been made ever. While empowered by Infusion of Light, Flash of Light heals you for 15% more, and Holy Light refunds 3% of your mana. Not cool. Not what you need at all. There's a much better way to make this talent, and I'll show you in a minute. It also should not be 3 points. So yeah, let's just dive into this really quickly here, and let me show you some of the good stuff, some of the bad stuff. So right away, we've got Light of Dawn and Holy Light. And let me just comment really quickly on, again, the structure of this tree. The last thing I want to say about the structure of this tree. Blizzard needs to decide what they're doing with Holy Paladin, because Holy Paladin has gone through so many different iterations. Before Legion, it was a ranged healer that focused a lot on pressing Holy Light. Back in Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm, your mastery gave people shields after you healed them. So it was very, very important that you sat there healing people with Holy Light, with Flash of Light, with things like Bestow Faith. Like, you had big, big, chunky heals, and then it also shielded allies as well. That was a really overpowered mastery, so they got rid of it, and they changed it in Legion to the what we understand Paladin to be today, which is a melee healer. That was the first time that we really understood that healers could have this melee sort of presence. And so that's what Paladin became, the de facto kind of melee healer, and all the focus got shifted over to Holy Shock, with things like Glimmer and that kind of idea, right? And we really never pressed Holy Light anymore. Very, very few Holy Paladins really use this spell anymore because it just doesn't fit with, like, the way that the direction that they took Holy Paladin. So now Blizzard needs to decide now with this big talent shakeup. Now is the time to decide. Are you going to commit to one build for Holy Paladin, i.e. go ranged or go melee? Or are you going to give us the choice to do one or the other? And I really think that they should make this talent tree to do one or the other. It makes perfect sense to me to have one side be kind of a Holy Light ranged build where you're generating lots of holy power from your Holy Light, potentially up to like 3 holy power per cast. So then you have an efficient play style where you're sitting there throwing huge Holy Light bombs, and then those bombs are beacon healing, and it's generating tons of holy power, so you can wog right away, and then that wog is beacon healing, or you can press Light of Dawn, whatever you want to do. But that's that style. And then the other style would be like an up close, you know, Holy Shock style with Divine Toll and Glimmer of Light, right? Where you have Crusader's Crusader Strike is lowering the cooldown of Holy Shock. You know, we're getting that melee thing. Maybe Consecration is going to be in there too. It's going to do lots of extra healing from Golden Path. And then on top of that, you've got big cooldowns like Divine Toll. And then you could do AC, where you're Avenging Crusader, where you do lots of damage and also heal everybody in a big, big cooldown. And that would be kind of that play style. So I think Blizzard really needs to create the 2 paths and then let Holy Paladin do whatever they want to do. And they can really make it worth it to go one way or the other. And you invest really heavily in that range style, or you invest really heavily in that melee style. And you can choose whichever way you want to play. And I think that I know lots of people who would want to play the ranged Holy Paladin style. I know lots of people who also think that they should only ever be a melee healer, but I actually think Blizzard should go both ways with it. So I'll show you my talent tree later and what I kind of end up doing there, but the range style hasn't really been a thing until actually Shadowlands, it sort of was a thing to a degree. And that's because there's an Inflorescence legendary. I don't know if you guys have probably never used this, but it increases the effects of your inflorescence infusion buff by 30% in Shadowlands, and that gives your holy power a chance to give you up to 3 holy power potentially. If you're doing it properly, if you're casting on a beacon target. So like on the live game, holy light gives you 1 holy power. If you cast it on a beacon target, you get 2 holy power. And if you have this inflorescence legendary, you can get 3 holy power. There's a chance. You basically have a 30% chance to get a 3rd holy power. That's very, very strong. It's very powerful. It's very efficient. It saves on mana because you don't have to cast that spell again. You've already got your 3 holy power. Now you can use your spenders. So like, that's a really cool playstyle that kind of exists right now in Shadowlands, but nobody plays it because everybody just wants to play the melee Holy Shock, Glimmer of Light, Divine Toll, plus shielding the Shock Barrier legendary that most people run. So, like, that's kind of how it works. What I want Blizzard to do is get us back to where we can choose, right? Let's choose between the two. So, let me jump into this talent tree a little bit more. There's a choice node here, which is interesting. Bestow Faith or Unending Light. Each holy power spent on Light of Dawn increases the healing of your next Word of Glory by 5%. This is the only Word of Glory talent on this entire tree. This is the only one. Word of Glory is your main single target spender. And there is one talent that does something with it. I think that's kind of weird. It doesn't really make sense. But, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of very strange. Saved by the Light is here, and it's 2 points. It should only be 1 point. This is, like, really bad. This should only be 1 point. Okay. Beacon transferring an additional 20% more healing is very good. I actually like that idea. Again, we should lean into the fantasy of whatever this class is bringing, whatever this spec is bringing, which is beacon healing. That's like the Holy Paladin fantasy, right? Again, Light of the Martyr is here, and there are buffs to it with Marauders. That's actually very, very good. Echoing Blessings is here. I talked about why I think that's bad. Shining Savior is here. Word of Glory and Light of Dawn healing increased by 5%. That's whatever. Rule of Law should not be here. It should be actually up here, and I'll show you that in a minute. It also doesn't really fit with, like, it's more of a Holy Light thing, right? You want Rule of Law if you're doing a ranged Holy Paladin playstyle because you're not going to be close to the people you're healing. So you want Rule of Law to bridge the gap for you there. Increases the range of your heals by 50%, right? Which increases your mastery. So it's like, I just don't, you know. Also, I think this is nerfed, right? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Is this completely nerfed? Am I crazy? I didn't look at this ahead of time. This is the one thing I didn't check here. Rule of Law. Yeah, it doesn't buff the reach of your Mastery Lightbringer anymore. What? That's got to be a typo. That's got to be a typo. All it says is it increases the range of your heals by 50%. But it does not increase the reach of your Mastery, which is the most important part of that. So I'm not actually sure if that's... That feels like it's got to be a typo to me, or else this is actually useless. It's actually completely useless if that's the way it is. Okay, so then we have Aura Mastery, which is fine. That's the way it is. And then we've got Protection of Tyr. Aura Mastery increases all healing received by party members by 10%. That's actually fine. That's a good little buff there. Moment of Compassion. Your Flash of Light heals for an additional 10% when cast on targets affected by your Beacon of Light. That's just sort of normal gameplay. Now we have Light's Hammer or Holy Prism. Of course, like I said before, Light's Hammer is actually a great cooldown. Holy Prism is garbage and nobody uses it, and I'm going to put a different cooldown in there later when I show you my tree. Crusader Strike has 2 charges, and then Crusader's Might is over here to get you 2 seconds off of Holy Shock. Right now, it's only 1 second. So we have the nerfed version of this right now on the live game. It used to be 2 seconds. In Shadowlands, they made it 1 second because it was too strong. So it's 1 second right now, but they're bringing it back to 2 seconds. So that really, again, emphasizes the melee Holy Shock playstyle that is very, very good. And this is going to be back to that buffed version. So Holy Shock is a 7.5 second cooldown, but you're going to have haste. You're going to bring that down to like probably a 6 second cooldown with haste. And then whenever you press Crusader Strike, it goes down by 2 seconds. So very, very good. This leans hard into your Glimmer of Light, into your Divine Toll. That's fine. Again, Empyreal Ward is here. This is like garbage in my opinion. It needs to be out of here. Lay on Hands is like a 10-minute cooldown, right? Like I'm not using Lay on Hands to give somebody armor. I'm using it to save their life in an emergency situation. Yes, it's great that when I save them from that emergency, now they have extra armor. That's pretty good. But what if I cast this on somebody who's like a clothy? What if I cast it on like a mage? He doesn't really have any armor. Like, they just have very, very little armor compared to an actual tank. So it's like the value on this is just really, really, really weird. Like, this would be quite powerful if it said something like Lay on Hands now heals your target for 100% of the healing over 15 seconds or something. Like, I don't know. It just is very weird the way it is right here. So, Scintillation is here. Or Scintillation, as it says, not Scintillation. Scintillation is here. Holy Shock is 15% increased critical strike chance. That's fine. That ties in with Glimmer and yada, yada, yada. Divine Revelations is here. This is really bad, like I said before. While empowered by infusion, your Flash of Light heals for 15%. That's fine. Holy Light refunds mana. You don't need Holy Light to refund mana. You need Holy Light to generate more Holy Power, which will save you mana. It's a much, much better way to save mana. If Holy Light generates one additional Holy Power, that means you can get you can get 2 Holy Power per Holy Light cast. That's very strong. Instead of just getting 1, you're getting 2. It saves you from having to cast an entire second ability, which is going to save you mana. So, like, it's much, much better to say this generates an additional Holy Power, not that it saves you mana, because you can accomplish both. So this is just really bad. Also, it should not be 3 points. Second Sunrise, Light of Dawn has a chance to create a second cone of light. Like, I don't know. This isn't that great in my opinion. It's kind of like the tier set bonus to a degree. But the wording on it's really strange. Like, why does it say cone of light instead of a second Light of Dawn? Like, if that cone of light that comes out cannot trigger Divine Purpose or Awakening, then it's garbage. It's just completely garbage, right? Like, this needs to say Light of Dawn has a 20% chance to cast again or something, so that you're getting the bonus of Divine Purpose, you're getting the bonus of Awakening. These kinds of effects in the game where you have a chance for something to proc for free needs to interact with your other passives that have a potential, you know, to work with it. So I really hope that this works that way. I'm not really sure if it does yet. Let's get to the bottom. This is a new idea, Power of the Silver Hand. This is back from Legion. This was in the Legion artifact weapon ability. Holy Light and Flash of Light have a chance to grant you Power of the Silver Hand, increasing the healing of your next Holy Shock by 10% of all damage and effective healing you do within the next 10 seconds. Maximum of, you know, health, total health, times 50 divided by 100. No, I'm not sure what that math is, but... So this is good, except that it's like... It's in a weird place, I think, on the tree, because Holy Light is over here. And, like, a buff to Holy Light is over here. Beacon Healing, buffing Holy Light. And then over here we have a Holy Light, like, capstone idea. And then over here we have Barrier of Faith, which is a... it also works with Holy Light, but it doesn't... It's not tied to Holy Shock. Like, this Power of the Silver Hand is tied to Holy Shock, right? Increases the healing of your next Holy Shock by 10%. So that should go with Glimmer. That should go underneath Glimmer, and Barrier should be over here instead. So these two need to switch, because Barrier of Faith has much more to do with Holy Light and Flash of Light, which are going to be casting with the ranged build, versus this really buffs your Holy Shock healing, and it's tied to all damage and effective healing that you do, right? So, like, I don't know. Power of the Silver Hand probably needs to also change a little bit in terms of its, like, dependency. Like, it shouldn't proc off of Holy Light and Flash of Light. It should proc off of Light of Dawn, probably. And maybe Crusader Strike. So that's probably how I would change that. It's got to be tied to those abilities, because this other one over here, Barrier of the Faith, is tied to Flash of Light and Holy Light. When you're playing the melee build for Power of the Silver Hand, you're not pressing Holy Light and Flash of Light. You're pressing Crusader Strike, you're pressing Holy Shock, you're pressing Word of Glory, you're pressing Light of Dawn, you're pressing Light's Hammer, Divine Toll. Like, you're doing those kinds of abilities. You're really never, ever, ever, ever pressing Holy Light. You're not standing there and channeling Flash of Light. Maybe occasionally will you channel Flash of Light, but it's very rare. So these need to switch. I'll get to that in my tree in a minute. There's Glimmer. There's Divine Toll as we know it right now. Divine Toll for Holy Paladin just by the way, does generate 5 holy power because it casts Holy Shock, and Holy Shock generates holy power. So it's just Protection Paladin where it doesn't really work the way that it used to. Here's the middle. We have Avenging Wrath Might, which is a typo right now. It says it increases your damage and healing by 20%, but it doesn't. Like, that's what the base ability does. It increases your damage and healing. So this is probably the crit one. I'm assuming that this is the crit one because that's what the other Paladin ones that are Avenging Wrath Might, those are the other ones. So I'm assuming this is just going to give you 20% crit, which is literally the baseline Avenging Wrath you have right now. So it's very, very bad. You have AC here, which I think is really good. Actually, very, very good because it's not competing with Awakening anymore. Awakening is down here, right? AC was bad because what it was competing against. So I think AC could be really good, except that its mana cost is still ridiculously prohibitive. It cannot be 50% of your base mana. It's got to be like 25% of your base mana at max. It's way too much mana. Way, way too much. Because not only do you have to spend 50% of your mana just to cast this sucker, but you also then have to spend mana to cast Judgment and Crusader Strike. So I don't understand why they're doing it like this. But anyway. Breaking Dawn increases the range of Light of Dawn to 40 yards. That's part of a legendary. That's part of the Dawnbreaker's legendary. But like, Second Sunrise and Breaking Dawn should just be combined. This is so bad. One talent point giving you 40 yards on your Light of Dawn is actually not bad. But like, this Second Sunrise is very bad, so I think they should just bake it into Breaking Dawn. Sorry guys, something on my nose. I don't know what's going on with my nose. It's itchy. Okay, your beacons are here, and then Tyr's Deliverance is here. This is the Legion Artifact ability. It's very, very strong. It basically heals every second for 10 seconds. And then you can also beacon all that healing. So you can just pop like Beacon of Virtue here, and then pop Tyr's Deliverance, and everybody just goes tick, 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 tick. It's pretty cool. I remember doing it in Legion. It was a lot of fun. So, yeah. Okay, so the tree is kind of whatever. It has bits and pieces of other stuff, but it feels really disorganized. It feels really bad to me. So we're going to move some of this stuff around. So let's do that. Let me zoom in on my tree. So let me take you on a ride here. This is my tree here. Okay, a lot of stuff has moved and a lot of stuff has changed, and I'm going to go over it with you. So we still have Holy Shock, but Light of Dawn and Holy Light have now swapped positions, okay? So they used to be there. They've now swapped. Okay? Maybe I'll bring this up over here like this. Now I like you, I do. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Can I... There we go. There we go. We got it. We figured it out. Okay. Make this even smaller. Okay. Here's what we're doing here. Make this bigger. So, we have Holy Shock, okay? And then we're going to switch Light of Dawn and Holy Light. Boom, boom, okay? Because the dependency stuff below hand, I think, is better. So then, you've got Holy Light and Flash of Light healing is coming over here as well. I've switched Bestow Faith and Unending Light are now over here. Radiant Onslaught is still here. That I've moved. That was down here a little bit, right? So this gives you 2 charges of Crusader Strike. I've moved it up, and then I brought Crusader's Might down from here all the way up to here, okay? So it's just at the beginning of the second row now. We're into the second row, okay? Now, what do we want to accomplish here with this tree? I want there to be a melee side and a range side. And then in the middle, I want there to be most of my, like, my big cooldowns, my things like Aura Mastery, Divine Protection. Beacon is now in the middle, okay? Divine Revelation is in the middle. You got, Infusion's in the middle. So the way I've structured this is melee on the left side, ranged on the right side. So let's get to it. Light's Hammer is here still, but I've changed Prism. I've gotten rid of Holy Prism altogether. What was Holy Prism trying to accomplish? Holy Prism was trying to do some damage and some healing, or a lot of healing and some damage, right? You could choose, do I want to do more damage and less healing, or more healing to one target and then damage to less damage to a bunch of enemies? It just never really worked out very well. So we're going to change it to this. It's now called Holy Judgment. It's the bottom. It's the second one down here. Hurl Judgment at 3 nearby enemies. Your next Holy Shock against those enemies will also apply a holy shock to a nearby injured ally. Each judgment adds a Judgment of the Light effect to the enemy. That is on the class side. That's the heal, right? If Judgment of the Light is already talented, the healing from Judgment of the Light is now doubled. So I really love this idea of incorporating Judgment into a big cooldown. So what this basically says is you like whip out 3 judgments. They're going to hit 3 enemies. All 3 of those enemies now get a Judgment of the Light on them. So your allies are all healing now, which is really nice. Okay. On top of that, your next Holy Shock that you fire against those enemies, so you're going to fire a Holy Shock as a DPS button, and it's going to consume that judgment. Not going to consume it, but it's going to proc off of that judgment, and it's going to heal somebody in your group with a Holy Shock, which, if you look down the bottom of the tree, will also put a glimmer on that person. And if you press this big cooldown, Holy Judgment, and then you also press Divine Toll, there's a combo there, right? Where your 3 judgments go out, and they put judgments on the layout, and then you press Divine Toll, and it sends Holy Shocks on all those enemies. Those Holy Shocks will now also trigger Holy Shocks onto your allies. So, like, there's a really interesting, like, synergy there, which is really cool, and that doesn't exist right now with Holy Prism. It doesn't exist at all. So, like, I wanted to create a cooldown that also incorporated other parts of the kit for Paladin, because that's what you want to do. You want synergy, right? Synergy. Okay, here's another thing that I've done. Again, this is the melee playstyle. The melee playstyle is more spammy. You're spamming Crusader strikes. You're spamming Judgment. You're spamming Holy Shocks. It's consuming a lot more mana because those things do cost mana. The Holy Light build, the range build, should not basically consume as much mana because you're going to be generating more holy power per cast. And I'm going to show you why. So therefore, I put over here, Crusader's Might is here. I put a new ability called Crusader's Wisdom. Judgment and Crusader Strike restore 1% of your maximum mana. So again, this ties into Crusader Strike having 2 charges, and this new cooldown, Holy Judgment, which sends out 3 judgments. All 3 of those will give you mana, so you get 3% of your mana back when you press this cooldown. Okay? So that's an interesting and I think that the melee playstyle needs to get some mana back. They will eventually need to get mana back because of how much they're spamming their abilities. Okay? Here's the last on the left-hand side here, Faithful Flames. This is a new idea. Crusader Strike casts Consecration under your target. Consecration radius increased by 15%. This effect may only occur once every 10 seconds. You're limited to 1 Faithful Flames consecration. So just like the Ret ability, where you plus Blade of Wrath and it gives you a consecration, this is the same thing. This ties into the class side of the tree, right? With Golden Path and Seal of Mercy. That's what we're going for there. That's the idea. Okay? Now, I've moved Echoing Blessings over here. Echoing Blessings used to be over here. It doesn't make sense over here. It's blocking Beacon of Faith and Virtue. Beacon of Faith and Virtue are now in the middle. You can go right from Aura Mastery to Beacon of Faith or Virtue, which makes sense. You should be able to do this. This is a core part of how you heal as a Paladin, okay? Echoing Blessings is here, and it also interacts with Blessing of Summer now. And this makes Blessing of Summer actually an interesting idea, okay? So number one, if you look at the bottom of this tooltip, Blessing of Summer increases the target's damage and healing by 5% for 8 seconds after receiving the blessing. So that's a new idea there, where if you cast Blessing of Summer or Blessing of Autumn or Blessing of Winter, whichever one you have up, it's going to give that target 5% more damage and healing. Okay? For 8 seconds. Actually, that's probably too strong. I'm going to change this really, really quickly. It's actually too strong. I'll show you why in a second. We're going to go damage and healing by 3%. Just for fun. Okay? I'll show you why in a second. Because right underneath of it, we now have Blessing of Summer. Okay? Blessing of Summer is going to be nerfed a little bit. So instead of it having a 40% chance to deal 30% more damage, I'm giving it a 20% chance to deal 15% additional damage. The reason why is because of the next line underneath of it, which I've added, which says your Blessing of Summer also affects any of your beacon targets. Now, this is a really cool interaction. This is exactly how this should work. Right now, on the tree, it doesn't have any interaction at all. Like, imagine if you press Blessing of Summer. So first of all, the Echoing Blessings, you understand why I had to nerf this now. So it increases your target's damage and healing by 3%. If you bless somebody and you have 2 beacons out, you now have 3 blessings going out. If you bless somebody and you have Beacon of Virtue, then it's gonna apply to 5 people, 5 blessings. Pretty good, pretty cool combo, pretty interesting interaction there for Paladin. I think it's exactly how this should work. Again, nerf some of the numbers on the Blessing of Summer so that if you cast it on one target without any beacons out, it's like really bad. But if you cast it and it's hitting 3 people because of your Beacon of Virtue, or 5 people, sorry, Beacon of Faith, or 5 people because of Beacon of Virtue, then it's way stronger. It's actually really worth it. So there's a payoff there. If you want to index into this, you can. I think that would be a really cool change there. Okay? Scintillation I didn't change. Glimmer I didn't change. Divine Toll's the same. But I moved Power of the Silver Hand is over here now, okay? Power of the Silver Hand has swapped with Barrier of Faith. Barrier of Faith is now on the ranged side, okay? It imbues a friendly target with a Barrier of Faith, healing them. Your next 18 seconds, Barrier of Faith accumulates 20% of effective healing from your Flash of Light or Holy Light spells, okay? It increases the absorb, yada, yada. So that makes sense with the ranged Holy Light playstyle, okay? For the melee style, you have Power of the Silver Hand, which is going to increase the healing of your... Now, I'm going to change this, actually. Instead of Holy Light and Flash of Light, we need to change this to say Crusader Strike. Crusader Strike. We'll just do Crusader Strike and Flash of Light. That's actually okay. That's probably okay. So now it says Crusader Strike and Flash of Light have a chance to grant you Power of the Silver Hand, increasing the healing of your next Holy Shock by 10% of all damage and effective healing you do. That makes sense, right? We're doing a melee playstyle. We're pressing Crusader Strike. Now Crusader Strike has a chance to give you this proc, makes your next Holy Shock stronger based on how much damage you're doing or healing that you're doing. Like, very good. That makes sense to me. It's under Glimmer. Glimmer's a Holy Shock talent. That makes sense. That's exactly where that should be. Okay? Divine Revelations I've changed here to make this much, much better. While empowered by Infusion of Light, it's not a 3-point talent anymore. It's a 1-point talent. While you're empowered by Fusion of Light, Flash of Light heals for an additional 15%, and Holy Light generates 1 additional Holy Power. This is very, very good. Okay? I'm going to talk about it in a second when I get to the ranged Holy Power build. I've changed Avenging Wrath here. So Avenging Crusader stays the same, except it only costs 20% of your base mana instead of 50. That's the only change I would make to AC. Avenging Wrath, I've now changed it to Avenging Wrath Savior. This is the Holy's version of Avenging Wrath. Call upon the light to become an avatar of salvation, increasing your critical strike chance by 20%. Holy Light now generates an additional holy power during Avenging Wrath. Okay. Okay, so now you choose. Do I want the ranged holy power generation from Savior, or do I want the damage and healing from Avenging Crusader? Which one am I picking here, right? So the reason that this is good is because you can combine this obviously with Divine Revelations. This gives you 1 additional holy power from Holy Light. Avenging Wrath now gives you 1 additional holy power from Holy Light. And Beacon of Light here gives you 1 additional holy power when you cast it on a target with a beacon. So now when you pop wings and you cast Holy Light on your beacon target, you get 3 holy power. Which you should. That's good. That makes... this is all what we've been planning for. This is worth it, right? It's worth it to take these talents now. So now, in your Avenging Wrath window, you are a god. You press Holy Light, and then you press Word of Glory. You press Holy Light, you press Light of Dawn. You press Holy Light, you press Light of Dawn. Like, you're just bouncing between Builder, Spender, Builder, Spender, Builder, Spender, and it's very efficient, and you're saving mana by not having to press multiple Holy Lights in this window. So you don't need a talent like Crusader's Wisdom. You simply need to play efficiently and effectively, and it will work out. And you can obviously be weaving in Holy Shocks as well to get your infusion, and then you might generate an additional Holy Power, by the way. So it's like 3 or 4. I forgot what it is, but the idea is to get either 3 or 4 Holy Power per Holy Shock. It's very efficient. It saves you mana because you don't have to spend extra mana casting spells. And on top of that, you're getting all this healing that's going to splash to your beacon targets. So this is where the ranged build like really, really works well, I think. Let's continue on. I've moved Rule of Law up here. Okay. Makes sense with the range style. If you want to increase the range of your heals, it should also increase your mastery, though. I don't know why it's nerfed, but whatever. Beacon healing is now over here. Used to be over here. So I've switched sides. So now the right-hand side of the tree is like a range side plus beacon healing. It's all about ranged beacon healing, basically. Whereas the melee side's all about like Holy Shock, Divine Toll, Consecration healing, Power of the Silver Hand buffs, like a lot of cool stuff going on there. This side is really all in on beacon healing. Here's a new idea here. Shielding words is going to come back, but it's going to be different. Overhealing caused by Word of Glory now shields the target for the amount overhealed, lasts 8 seconds. This means that if you're generating crazy amounts of holy power from this build, which you will be with Divine Revelations and Avenging Wrath Savior, you can actually just hit somebody who's like almost full health with a WOG, and it won't be wasted. Because you'll heal them for like, let's say they've only lost 15% of their health. You're going to heal them and you're going to overheal them, but that overhealing then turns into a shield that only lasts for 8 seconds. So it's not completely overpowered, but it means your WOG isn't wasted, which is very good. Maraud's is still here. I've just moved it so that it synergizes a little bit better with some of the Light of Dawn stuff, because Maraud's is all about Light of Dawn, increases the healing of your next martyr. So we want it to connect with Light of Dawn stuff. I changed Second Sunrise. I combined these two Light of Dawn talents here. Now Light of Dawn has a 10% chance to create a second Light of Dawn immediately after the first. Increases the range of Light of Dawn to 40 yards. So that goes well with Maraud's, right? If you're doing a Light of the Martyr Maraud's build, there's your Untempered Dedication. Saved by the Light is here. It's only a 1-point talent now, and it works. It's connected to Beacon, which up on the other tree, it's up here. It's really far away from your Beacon stuff. Now I've connected it directly up with Beacon, and it connects down to other Beacon stuff down here, which I'm going to show you right now. Resplendent Light is coming back as this is a conduit right now for Holy Light. This makes sense with the ranged Holy Light build. Your Holy Light heals up to 5 targets within 8 yards for 10% of its healing. And then I added beacon targets are healed twice. So this might be too strong, but I want this to stay. So maybe make it 5%. It only heals 5 targets for 5% of the healing, but then the beacon targets get healed again. That would be a really cool idea, because, again, this is all about beacon healing. You're taking these big single-target Holy Light bombs, and you're splashing them to other people with beacons. And this is exactly what Resplendent Light should also be doing. Finally, here's one of the big core pieces to all of this. It's called Saving Light. Increases your beacon healing by 5%. Your Mastery Lightbringer now increases the healing based on your target's proximity to you or to your beacons, whichever is closer. This was an old concept that used to exist, I think, in Legion. I can't remember. I tried to find it. I can't remember where it existed. But now, here's what you do. You take, like, Beacon of Faith in the middle here, and you have 2 beacons out, right? One in ranged, one in melee, let's just say, for fun. Now, whenever you heal somebody, no matter where you are, you're going to benefit from your mastery. If you're in ranged and you heal a melee person with a big Holy Light bomb, it's now going to hit that target, and it's going to splash healing, and then your beacon is going to be right next to the target that you healed, and so everybody's going to get increased healing based on your mastery because your beacon target is there. This is like a fundamental Paladin idea that I think needs to come back into the game, where Paladins are thinking actively about, like, where are my beacons so that I can, if I want to min-max this and get as much healing as possible, I can heal somebody who's close to my beacon, and they'll get my mastery healing as if I was standing right next to them, even though I'm not standing right next to them. It's a really, really cool idea. It's a fundamental idea for Paladin, in my opinion. Then at the very bottom of the range tree, we've got Tyr's Deliverance, which makes sense because it also increases, the allies also receive 20% increased healing from your Holy Light and Flash of Light for 10 seconds. So that makes sense to be in the range side of the tree. Tyr's Deliverance just fits right there. And then, of course, Barrier of Faith, as I said earlier, this is the one that you want to be pressing Flash of Light and Holy Light as much as possible, and it accumulates a big shield on that target. So that's what I've changed. This to me now feels like you have a range side that synergizes really well, and you have a melee side that synergizes really, really well. And we have some funky stuff in the middle like Marauds with Light of the Martyr, and you've got Echoing Blessings with Blessing of Summer for some extra interesting like combos there that works with your beacon. I think that the melee people need to be getting their mana back through Crusader's Wisdom, which is now going to synergize really well with Holy Judgment, this new talent that I've created here, which is also going to synergize with Divine Toll and Glimmer. And I think that melee people need to get their mana back because they're going to be spamming Crusader Strike and Holy Shock, and they're going to be using more mana to do so. The ranged guys don't need to be getting their mana back because they're generating so much more holy power per cast than the melee guys are. Your Holy Light becomes this insane holy power generation machine, as it should be. And that's the style that you're indexing into. These big holy power bombs that get beaconed out and they splash healing to other targets. And the healing that they get bonuses from your mastery based on the proximity that they are to your beacon target, not necessarily their proximity they are to you. The ranged guys aren't going to get that big bonus unless they really want to come over here, which they could. But they get a bigger bonus to their melee healing. They get Consecration healing for free. They get a bunch of cool Divine Toll, Glimmer. You know, it's still got that Holy Shock flavor that's still there for the melee guys if they want to run that. But there's this new empowered sort of ranged build that you can run as well. On top of that, all of the nodes that I've done here are just connected much better than they are in this current tree. This current tree, the way it's connected and structured is like abysmal. It's really, really, really bad. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. I know this video took a lot longer, guys. I just wanted to make sure that I showed you my tree because I think this is very bad. I take a lot longer on these kinds of videos because I think the Holy Tree is really, really bad and needs some help. And I think that, like, the way it is right now, the guts of it are kind of okay. But it just needs, like, so much extra help. And a lot of things need to be shuffled around. And I think we need to really make room for the idea of having a melee healer or a ranged healer. And you get to choose which one you want to do. And if you really want to go all in on the range stuff, you're going to run out of points. And you're not going to be able to also invest heavily into the melee style. That would be my idea here. So let me know what you guys think about my talent tree here. What do you think about the state of the holy talent tree that we've got in Dragonflight so far? I really want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know how you would modify my talent tree. Like, maybe it's just garbage. But again, this is just a basic, like, first draft. I did this over the last couple of hours, just fiddling around with stuff. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, drop a like. And if you want to subscribe, please, I would really appreciate it. We're very, very close to 2,000 subscribers. I'm like 10 subs away. So tell your grandma and get her to sub to me, okay? If you want to support the future of what I'm doing here, there's a link to my Patreon. There's a couple different tiers you can check out there. I would really appreciate that as well, guys. Thank you so much once again. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one.